Hello everybody, today I'm going to be talking about UK politics, and unfortunately I'm going to find it very difficult to explain to people what's going on in UK politics if you aren't from the UK and you don't keep up with what's going on here. I'm assuming that everybody watching this video knows that more than 50% of the UK population of those who voted to leave the European Union. But I have a major problem with where that has left our country. And hopefully, I'm going to explain that without just repeating things that other people have told me. Okay, so you have three politicians who, quote unquote, led the Leave campaign. And I have a problem with this already. When people say that there are three politicians who led the Leave campaign, what they mean is that three people stood on television, on stage behind podiums, and explained why they believed that we should leave the European Union. But that doesn't mean that they led the Leave campaign, okay? Because, and I'll explain it to you, the only reason why people keep spouting this idea that they were the main figureheads of the Leave camp is because we pay attention to television. And obviously we pay attention to television. So in some ways, they were the most influential speakers on the vote leave side of the debate. Because people watch television, obviously. But it doesn't mean that they led the Leave campaign, alright? It'd be stupid to think of this as hierarchical, like they're the authority on the vote leave camp. Every single person who uses their voice to explain whether they want to stay in the European Union or whether they wanted to leave contributes to that debate. And because they're on television, it doesn't mean that they've led anything, okay? It means that their voice has been heard by the most people, but it's not leadership in any sense. I remember talking to my family about this. I voted Remain, they all voted Leave. And they were saying that they didn't particularly like the people on television that were on their side. You know, they weren't voted for. The people that wanted to leave didn't vote for who was on television speaking up for their belief. Okay, and what my parents believe, my brother believes, and everyone else who voted Leave believes may be slightly different to what the people on television were saying, okay? And also, here's the most important point when it comes to leadership on the European Union vote Remain and vote Leave sides. Jeremy Corbyn, the leader of the Labour Party, was up and down the country speaking to tons and tons of people about why he believed that we should stay in the European Union. But because he wasn't on television, people say that he did nothing, right? Our, our minds are so focused on what happens on TV that we don't even get told about the campaigning that's going on up and down the country unless it's on BBC News. And for some strange reason, there wasn't an awful lot of information about Jeremy Corbyn's campaigning up and down the country. Why can't we say that he'd led the Remain campaign? I mean, I've heard reports from certain politicians that the amount of campaigning that he was doing up and down the country was much more strenuous and would have taken much more energy than it does to stand on a podium for a couple of hours. But obviously that's ignored, you know. So I guess you have to be more open-minded. You have to think, hang on a minute, when the media uses a phrase like leading the Leave campaign, leading the Remain campaign, it's manufactured, okay? And it doesn't take into account everything, right? And you've only got to look at the Leave and Remain camps. Nicola Sturgeon, Sadiq Khan, Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson. These are people that are controversial in their own right. There are lots of people that dislike them that may have voted in the same way that they voted, which is just not right. Um, but that's enough of talking about leading the camps, all right? Now we need to talk about leading the country because that's gone in a strange direction in the last few hours. Okay, here are the three main people who led the Leave campaign. You've got Nigel Farage, you've got Andrea Leadsom, and you've got Boris Johnson. Andrea Leadsom and Boris Johnson have, in the past month, both been touted, if that's a word that you guys even know or use, as being the potential leaders of this country. Before the votes were cast, everyone was saying that Boris Johnson was going to succeed David Cameron, but shortly after the majority of the country voted to leave, he said, no, I am not going to be running as one of the potential candidates for the Conservative leadership. And people were saying, oh, he's backed down. He's realised what a mess he's going to have to steer this country through now that we've voted to leave. So he doesn't want to take any part in it. And honestly, I agree with that opinion. I believe that is the reason why he didn't want to be the next leader. But it goes even deeper than that, because some information was brought out which proved that Boris Johnson actually wasn't even necessarily as staunchly in favour of leaving the European Union as he had people believe. In one interview, he basically admitted that he wrote a draft of an article for, I believe it was the Telegraph newspaper, which explained why he wanted to remain in the European Union, why he wanted the UK to remain in the European Union, but in the end, he published an article which said that he wanted to leave the European Union. So if he was that divided on what he wanted to do, why was he quote-unquote leading the campaign? Yeah? And everyone's worried about what's going to happen with the country now, and he's nowhere to be seen. He's not going to be leading he's not going to be leading this country anywhere. But then again, maybe he didn't want to go into the elections to become the next Tory leader because he's a bit of a joke. A lot of people know that now. I mean, people say that it's all about your policies, but it's really not. This man is a bit of a clown, okay? No one would take him seriously on an international stage because he fools around. He looks awkward. He isn't a normal human being. I'm sorry, he's just not. And maybe that was factored into his decision. Who knows? Okay, but what we do know is that he was trying to convince people to leave. But now he doesn't have the strength, if I'm going to use a slightly sexist term, he doesn't have the balls to try and guide us through that process now that it's actually going to happen. And then you've got Andrea Leadsom. In the last few hours, she has stepped down as a candidate for the new Tory leadership role. She is not going to be the next Prime Minister, and as there was only one other candidate in the race, Theresa May, she is now definitively, without argument, going to be our new Prime Minister. This is a woman who was very passionately in favour of leaving the European Union, and you would have thought that if she believed it to be such a good option for this country, why she's just left now? Why has she stopped campaigning? Though maybe that's a bit harsh. Maybe she just realised that she couldn't win, you know? I do describe myself as being a left-wing voter. Obviously, I'm going to have some problems with Tory politicians, but I think left-wing advocates, activists, have to be careful not to just slander everything that your opposition says and say, oh, you know, she she decided not to continue with being a candidate for the leadership role, because she's a coward, or she doesn't actually believe that the country is going to be better outside of the European Union. You can't fabricate things like that. These are multifaceted issues. We don't know really why she stepped down. What I do know is that I don't like the woman. Okay. I watched the debates on television, and she almost voted me. She almost convinced me to vote Leave. But she said some horrible things since then. I heard that in 2012 she wanted to ban many workers' rights for people working under independent businesses with 3 employees or less. I'm talking like fundamental worker rights that she wanted to abolish for these small companies, and she wanted to do it. She wanted to vote for that, to advocate it in order to help small businesses get off their feet. But one of the things that she was saying they should ban for these small companies is minimum wage. And I'm sorry, there are people in this country on minimum wage who still need benefits in order to survive. So how the hell are they going to survive if they don't get minimum wage? I don't know why she believed in that. That's such a horribly right-wing and unfair thing to believe in. But that was one of the things that she thought was all cool. Another thing she said recently is that she believed that fox hunting should be reintroduced for animal rights reasons, because foxes kill chickens on farms. I'm sorry, but ripping apart an animal is never going to be something that is done for animal rights reasons. I mean, I'm not an expert on farms. I don't understand the pressures of being a farmer, but surely there is a way in which you can protect your chickens from outside attacks by foxes. Surely that is doable. Build a big enough wall. Come on, that would be helping animal rights. Protecting your chickens by building a wall, not by ripping apart a fox's neck with dogs chasing after it. Honestly, if you want my opinion, and I can't verify this, I can't point to studies, statistics or facts, but my hunch, my belief is that the reason why people hunt foxes with dogs is mainly, even if they can't admit it to themselves, but they probably can, mainly that they just enjoy doing it, okay? It's a tradition. They dress up, they do it with their friends, they like the hunt, they like the kill. That is my belief. Okay, so we talked about Andrea Leadsom, we've talked about Boris Johnson, we've only got to mention Nigel Farage, okay? He has left UKIP. People are saying that that is because he doesn't want to take responsibility for the fact that we're going to leave the European Union. And honestly, I'm not sure if that's true. It's the UK Independence Party. The reason why this party exists is because they wanted us to be independent from the European Union, and that is now going to be the case. Why would he want to lead that party afterwards? It's not the best place for him to be. Maybe he's going to end up in the Conservatives, maybe he's going to be some independent campaigner, who knows? But the best place for him to be is definitely not the UK Independence Party. But I do worry that this man is, whatever he's going to do, is not going to help the situation. There's a video which many people have watched now that's emerged of him shouting at people, really insulting them in Europe. In the discussions that they're having, he was saying, you said, when I said, oh man, there's someone messaging me on my phone, it's really, really annoying. Okay, European Union. He went there, basically took the piss out of everyone and said, you thought we would never leave the European Union, we've now left, look at you now, you're not laughing, basically you're all twats. That's what he said to them. But the problem with him saying that is that the UK politicians now have to negotiate the terms on which we leave this parliament, the European Parliament. We now have to negotiate new trade deals with Europe. And if you're going to the European Parliament and you're saying, you're all twats, That's not going to help matters, is it? That's not going to help trade for this country if he's doing that. It's not professional. People may have watched that video and thought, well, hey, great, he's being a bit of a rebel. He's being a truth sayer. He's basically saying F you to the people that have been controlling this country. But the fact of the matter is that they still have some control over us because they will be part of the debate of the negotiations for how we will leave the European Union, what sort of trade deals will be made. So, what kind of professional politician does that? Not a good one, alright? So, think about it. No, I'm a bit strange. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you have a nice day. Goodbye.